about the regulation of kidney functioning. I'll just recall that the functioning of kidney is regulated by hormonal feedback mechanisms that involve hypothalamus, juxtaglomerular apparatus, and atrial wall of the heart. By the hypothalamus, when there is change in the blood volume, blood fluid volume, and ionic concentration due to loss of fluid from the body, the osmoreceptor cells of the body, they get activated and they stimulate hypothalamus to release ADH or vasopressin or antidiuretic hormone. So full form of ADH is antidiuretic hormone. It is released from posterior pituitary. This ADH facilitates the reabsorption of water from DCT and collecting duct and prevent diuresis, causing elimination of hypertonic urine. Means at this state the urine is concentrated. An increase in body fluid volume that can switch off the osmoreceptors. So it suppresses the ADH release and causes elimination of hypotonic urine, that means dilute urine, because at this stage the ADH release is suppressed because there is increase in the body fluid volume. Therefore, ADH or vasopressin causes constriction of blood vessels and increases the blood pressure. So this increases the glomerular blood flow and the GFR. GFR means glomerular filtration rate. So this way, the another means of operating of the very well kidney functioning is by juxtaglomerular apparatus, that is JGA cells. So JGA cells, they operates through a multi-hormonal system called renin-angiotensin and aldosterone system, and also termed as renin-angiotensin mechanism. So whenever there is fall in the glomerular blood flow or the glomerular blood pressure, or you can say the GFR, it activates the JG cells to release renin. Renin is a hormone which converts angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1 and further to angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 or angiotensin 2 is a powerful vasoconstrictor. It increases the glomerular blood pressure and thereby GFR. Then angiotensin 2 also activates the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone, which stimulates the reabsorption of sodium ions and water from the distal parts of the tubule. This also leads to increase in the GFR or the blood pressure. Therefore, the GFR increases. And another is by the atrial wall of the heart. Here on the screen you can see it is also termed as ANF, that is atrial natriuretic factor. So an increase in the blood flow or the pressure in the atria of the heart, it causes release of the ANF. So when there will be increase in the blood flow or the pressure, the atria of the heart releases a factor called as ANF. This ANF causes the dilation of the blood vessels. Therefore, it acts as a good vasodilator and thereby it decreases the blood pressure. This way, ANF, it is antagonistic to the renin-angiotensin mechanism, because when there is low in the blood volume or the blood pressure, JGA cells work with the system called as RAAS mechanism, that is renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system or mechanism. And if the blood flow increases or the blood pressure increases, then to check this high blood flow or high GFR, ANF help in balancing this blood flow, or it lowers the pressure. Then we switch on to the another process called as micturition. It is the act of giving out of urine or act of voiding out of urine from the urinary bladder. So the act of voiding out of urine from the urinary bladder is called micturition. It is a reflex process, can be controlled to some extent by adults, but when the urinary bladder gets filled, the stretch receptors on the walls of the bladder sends a signal to the central nervous system, and this central nervous system known as CNS passes a motor messages to initiate contraction of the smooth muscles of the urinary bladder. And this is the stimulation, you can say there is a relaxation of the urethral sphincter muscles which causes the release of the urine. So there is a signal given by the CNS. It is the signal to the CNS when the walls of the urinary bladder gets filled, and the receptor cells send signal to the central nervous system or CNS, and the CNS on motor messages initiate the contraction of the muscles, the smooth muscles of the urinary bladder, and therefore the urine is expelled out, and the simultaneous relaxation of urethral sphincter muscles also cause the release of the urine out. Then urine in an adult human, it is round about 1.5 liters of urine is excreted per day, and this urine is light yellow or straw colored. It is watery fluid which is slightly acidic. Urine is slightly acidic, round about pH 6, and it is a characteristic odor. It contains urea, creatinine, and very little ammonia and uric acid. On an average, 25 to 30 grams of urea is excreted per day by a normal healthy adult individual. And if there is presence of glucose in the urine, it is called as glycosuria, and the presence of the ketone bodies is called as ketonuria. So this indicates diabetes mellitus. It indicates diabetes mellitus. So the role of other organs in excretion, that is lungs, liver, and the skin, they also help in the elimination of excretory waste. So lungs eliminate large amount of CO2, approximately 200 ml per minute or 18 liters per day, and also significant quantity of water vapor in a day. Liver secretes bile, and it contains many substances like I have already told you: bilirubin, biliverdin, cholesterol, degraded steroid hormones, vitamins, and drugs. So most of these substances are eliminated along with the digestive waste. Then the skin, that is sweat and the sebaceous gland in the skin, they also help in elimination of certain waste through their secretions. So the sweat glands secrete watery fluid called as sweat. It contains NaCl, small amount of urea, lactic acid, etc. Though the primary functions of sweat is to cool the body surface, it also helps in removal of the waste present in it. Then the sebaceous glands eliminate sterols, hydrocarbons and waxes through sebum. Sebum also provides protective oil covering for the skin. Then some amount of nitrogenous waste are also eliminated through the saliva. Some amount of nitrogenous waste are also eliminated through the saliva. So now we move on to the disorders of the excretory system. The first type of the disorder is uremia. It is a condition of accumulation of urea in the blood, which is highly harmful and may lead to kidney failure. In such patients, urea can be removed by the process called hemodialysis. What is hemodialysis now? Hemodialysis is the process of removal of nitrogenous waste from the blood of uremic patient. In this process, the blood is drained from the artery, is pumped into the dialyzing unit called artificial kidney. After adding an anticoagulant like heparin, the blood passes through cellophane tubes surrounded by dialyzing fluid having the same composition as that of plasma except the nitrogenous waste. The nitrogenous waste move out from the blood into the dialyzing fluid, thereby clearing the blood. And therefore the cleared blood is pumped back to the body through a vein after adding antiheparin. Then kidney transplantation. In kidney transplantation, it is an ultimate method in correction of the acute renal failures, that is kidney failure, in which functioning kidney from a suitable donor is transplanted to the patient. And HLA matching is also done, that is human leukocyte antigen. Human leukocyte antigen is also matched, which is located on the 6th chromosome. Then another is renal caliculi. It is a condition of formation of insoluble mass of crystalloid salts. They are oxalates or stones in the kidney. Another is glomerulonephritis. It is referred to the inflammation of glomeruli of kidney. Then the next one is diabetes insipidus. It is a condition marked by the output of huge amounts of urine, that is called as diuresis, and intense thirst. It is caused by deficiency of antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin, which I told you released from the posterior pituitary. Then diabetes means overflow, insipidus means tasteless. So distinguished from the diabetes mellitus, mal means honey, in which insulin deficiency causes blood sugar loss through the urine. Thank you.